I first encountered my future wife when she joined the workplace, Olivia. From the moment I laid eyes on her, I felt an instant connection, and I promptly set out to capture her interest. Fast forward 2 months, and we were officially a couple. Just 3 months later, I asked for her hand in marriage, and we tied the knot. At that point, I had inherited a 3-room apartment from my grandmother, which became our new home. Olivia owned a 2-room flat in the suburbs, a mere half-hour drive away. We soon decided to rent out our apartment, transforming it into a source of income while ensuring that the property was put to good use. The rental income was sufficient, allowing us to live comfortably. We both worked at a respectable company, and together we raised a son who has since enrolled in a military academy, where he is currently pursuing his studies. So, one fine morning, we resolved to spruce up the bedroom. The builders were scheduled to show up in a few days, so I started gradually clearing out the cabinets. Meanwhile, my wife headed out to spend a few hours with her folks, who reside on the outskirts of town. While rummaging through the shelves, I stumbled upon a mysterious black bag. Honestly, curiosity got the better of me. I needed to peek inside, initially just to figure out where to stash it. Inside the bag, there was a bundle of letters. A few were penned in Olivia's distinctive script, while others were by someone else. For some reason, I found myself drawn to them and began to sift through the contents. These are correspondences my wife penned to someone else decades back, long before we even crossed paths. She addressed these heartfelt messages to someone in the military, clearly to a flame she held dear back then. The letters were filled with such affection, gentleness, and fervour that I found myself quite taken aback. I had always believed that my wife was quite reserved when it came to expressing her feelings and emotions, but it turned out I was mistaken. This fellow, named Hudson, mirrored her sentiments quite profoundly. Honestly, I held on to this perception and didn't even realize Olivia had come back. Oh, what a scene unfolded. She shouted at me, branding me a heartless individual, lamenting how could I pry into someone else's correspondence, that it was highly personal, and the list of grievances went on. We had a fierce blow-up. It was a real showdown, and we didn't exchange a word for 2 whole weeks. I felt a deep sense of regret over my actions, questioning why I had taken the time to dig into letters that dated back 2 decades. Oh, what a fairy tale it was. The only thing that bothered me was why Olivia kept those letters so tightly. All those cute little things meant for another guy. Resentment and jealousy flared up. Eventually, he reconciled with his wife, and the story began to fade from memory. Then, a month later, out of the blue, a lady called me. She said, "Hi, I'm your downstairs neighbour. I can't seem to get through to Olivia. A few days ago, a wet spot appeared on the ceiling, and it was getting bigger. What should I do about it?" I said, "There are tenants living there. Can you knock on them?" The neighbour's expression betrayed his shock when he objected. "But hasn't this place been empty for over a year? Which tenants are you talking about? Now it's my turn to be surprised." I assured him that I would drop by in about 30 minutes to sort it out. As I headed over, I couldn't stop dialing my wife's number, hoping to get an update, yet her phone remained stubbornly off. Eventually, after 40 minutes had passed, I found myself unlocking the door to an apartment I hadn't set foot in for years. First thing I noticed on the doorstep were my wife's heels and some guy's sneakers. I think you can guess what greeted me when I walked into the room. Turns out, my wife had reconnected with her old flame, Hudson, about 6 months ago, and their past feelings reignited. Even though he also has a family in another city, they got their tenants to vacate and turned that place into their little love nest. They'd sit around rereading their old letters, reminiscing about the good old days. My wife didn't even have time to stash them away properly. Needless to say, it was a complete bombshell for me. Wrapped in a cloud of calm, she agreed to the divorce and moved into an apartment. My son fully supports me. Meanwhile, the relationship with Olivia has really gone downhill. To be honest, I'm not sure what she's achieved. She lives alone now, and even though I've become something of an outsider in the family, I still visit her from time to time. Naturally, she lost her family as a result.